And I think
for
that's where
myself,
I think
I
sometimes
guess.
women, myself included, we get it wrong. You see a lot of women that after a breakup, they glow up, or after a divorce, they glow up. And it's like, but why weren't you glowing up in the relationship? Why were you not putting your best foot forward in the relationship? And they might say, oh, because he was toxic, or was this, that, and the other. But then you have to ask yourself, why did you choose that relationship? But the bigger and they'll come out of a divorce and they'll lose all their weight because they're going back on their market. But really, that your best version of yourself, if you're not bringing it to your partner, you can't expect the best relationship. So I think we get it the wrong way around when we start to only glow up when we get single and then start to get complacent when we're with someone, or only glow up when we're out with other people, but not apply that to our partners.
What opinions do you have that you've seen the most negative response to? Were you surprised by any responses to an
Everything
opinion?
I say seems to really trigger people.
But there has to be something that really strikes you.
I think the biggest thing I get that gets the most backlash is when I say that, probably, what it would be. Whenever I talk about how men and women are different in response to cheating, and I always just say, like, as a woman, you could potentially forgive and you can reclaim the relationship. If you forgive a woman for cheating, she will forever cheat on you and just use you for free accommodation, and that seems to be a big trigger.
Why? Why do you think it's so triggering for people?
I think the thing is, there's a lot more men that forgive cheating than they care to admit. It's very difficult for a man because, like, when you go through something like that, you're not allowed to tell anybody because then you look like, you're weak. So you can't really tell your friends, and you can't, get any alternative perspective. You're only getting the woman's perspective. So you're almost kind of indoctrinated by her in that moment. But at the same time, you're really angry, stressed, all of these horrible things. So when you have somebody online and you've gone through all of that to make this relationship work, let's say you've forgiven your girlfriend, you've gone through all of that where you've been isolated, just thinking about it, going through all that. Then you have somebody like me online saying, oh, by the way, if you forgive her, she's going to cheat on you again. And she's probably using you for free accommodation and you're going to catch her a few more times. It's very triggering. And even for the woman that's spent all this time indoctrinating her partner into forgiving her, hearing that message is very difficult. So I think that really triggers a lot of people. Is there anything you saw in my content and you thought, oh my God, this is not going to go down well? Because the amount of reaction I get, I assume there must be something that is the underlying thing that's causing a lot of people to be upset.
Part of my thing on the cheating thing, going back to that, I took a stance a few podcasts ago that if a partner cheats, I'd say in a lot of cases, not all certainly, but I think in a lot of cases, you have to look 50-50 at what were you doing in the relationship to cause your partner to cheat. Like, where were you lacking? What were you doing? And taking some amount of responsibility for that. Now, I'm not saying in all cases, because there are cases that regardless of what you could have done, they would have gone out and cheated. But I think in a good chunk of those cases, I think you also have to look internally and say, was I a good partner? Was I encouraging of this person? Was I loving to them? Did I give them attention? Was I neglecting their feelings? What did I do? And maybe you could pinpoint some things, not to excuse cheating, because I don't think that was the appropriate response. But
I had a friend ask me the other day, and he said, what do you think is the main reason women cheat? And I said, the number one reason is having a people pleaser husband. And he said, oh, but you're taking the onus away from the women. And I said, I know it's on the husband. And I'll tell you why, because what will happen is the women will do inappropriate things to test their partner. They want to know where his line is. And this is an unconscious thing. And when they feel like he totally rolls over, there is no boundary left. Like, I had a client that said to me, oh, my wife, a couple of weeks after we got married, she slept with her ex because, but she thinks he slipped something in her drink and she slept with her ex-boyfriend. And in his mind was like all about like, I hope she's okay. He must have slipped something in her drink and was really worried about her. And I said, but didn't you question why she was with him or why he came over? And he said, oh, no, I just wanted to make sure she was okay. And I said, this is going to set you up. The moment you make the entire relationship about pleasing the person rather than making sure both people are being respected, from a female perspective, she could have easily not told you that, but she told you that information to see where your boundary is.
But don't you think there is a chance? Because I guess the hard part, if I were the guy in that situation, I would think there is a chance that she is being truthful. And I think it depends on the context. If she was saying, hey, I'm meeting up with so-and-so, we're going to be here. Here's why it's just the two of us and not you. Like, I feel like there would be an air of deniability there of like, hey, yeah, this dude did slip something in the drink.
But here's what men that don't get cheated on do. They stop the footsteps of this. Are you a successful man who has achieved endless heights in his career? Are you somebody who's absolutely made it in his professional life, but his personal life just doesn't seem to match up? Are you somebody who goes through intense highs in business but intense lows in your personal relationships? You might be somebody who has been blocking out relationships or entering relationships where you don't feel appreciated, or it's lacking the sexual or emotional intimacy that you require. If this sounds like you, then I have a program specifically catered to your needs. I've been helping high-end clients for a really long time, and I'm able to identify the exact problems, the exact causes, and the exact solutions. So if this sounds like you, then please feel free to register below your details, and I will send you all the, and I'll be able to, I'll be able to send over my program and hopefully fix, and I'll be able to send over my program and hopefully help, and I'll be able to send over my program and hopefully I'll be able to send over my program and help you attain the love and personal life that you've been craving. Devil. And what I mean by that is, why are you even in those positions to begin with an ex-boyfriend having a drink? They stop you there. You don't get to, he slipped something in my drink. It gets to, why is he texting you? Why are you guys even texting each other? Then they don't even entertain the idea of you going, because this is what happens with men that don't get cheated on. If I say to my husband, oh, my ex texted me, he's like, change your number. You're changing your number today. And I was like, I might say, I'm not like this, but some women might say, no, that's too toxic. He's like, well, something has to happen because I'm not comfortable with this experience. And I'd hope you're not comfortable with me talking to my ex. And they draw the barrier there. Now, some women will say you're too toxic and leave. That woman is somebody who's probably got plans to be unfaithful. But the right woman would be like, yeah, fair enough. I don't really care about him anyway. Block, delete, whatever it is. That man, it's harder for him to get cheated on. But the man that says, oh, really? How is he? And he's like, oh, no, he wants to meet up on Wednesday. What are you going to do? I think I might see him. Okay, what do you think? What time do you think you'll be back? I don't know. I'll see how it goes. That guy's setting himself up. So I think unfortunately, I know it sounds so toxic, and this is where my culture and why it's so opposite of the current climate. The current climate is total freedom. My culture, my background is you're totally free to do whatever you want, but I'm free to leave or set a boundary when I'm uncomfortable in my relationship. And they set those boundaries early on, the ones that don't get cheated on. And I would honestly say, if you're a man, if you want to prevent cheating, it's totally in your hands. You set the foundation early, not because you're toxic, but because you want to preserve the
But
relationship.
is that setting a foundation? Part of me just thinks some people are just naturally not going to cheat. I don't know if it's about even setting a foundation. It's just like that.
Those people who are not going to cheat, you don't have the conversations that my ex is calling me. So the people that are not going to cheat, they don't even say my ex texts me, because my ex was out of my life way before I met you. So the people that have these conversations, they don't go into the environments and then you realize that they're trustworthy. They just don't want to be in those environments where they're having a drink with their ex.
Sure.
So that's where it comes into it, unfortunately. In my personal experience of working with clients, that's why I see.
Is it true that if you make a girl laugh, that you can then make her fall in love with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Of all of the things, because women say, or maybe people just say, the guy has to be charismatic. He has to have like a sense of self. He has to be funny. He has to be intelligent. Along this scale, this tier list, what would you say are like the top 3 or 4 things?
Depending on her own sense of humor or anything like that. Sense of humor is definitely an important one. But I would just say each woman is going to be different. But in her world, in her mind, what she really attaches to is someone who's quite similar to what she's used to. So if you're choosing a woman who is used to a lot of abuse, a lot of chaos, and she's been through a really hard time, where men get it wrong is they would say, I'm going to be the knight in shining armor, I'm going to save you, and you're going to see how great I am, and everything's going to change. Unfortunately, if she's used to that behavior, she will find your love and affection quite difficult to adapt to. So I think the number one thing to ask yourself when you're looking at a woman, if she's like me, ask yourself, what is she used to? What are her exes like? Now, some women, her exes are really funny, they're really vibrant, they go to the gym, stuff like that. If you're like that, plus you treat her better than everything else that she's used to, it's easy. But if her exes are complete chaos and bad boy going up and down, and you're nothing like that, it's a risk.
Couldn't that be a phase?
It can be a phase, but she has to want to step out of it rather than you're trying to make her step out of it. She has to really want to step out of it. And it's usually a conscious decision before you're in there. But if you're trying to take her out of it, it can go back and forth.
Unfortunately, I've noticed a lot of women get stuck in a cycle of talking to really bad dudes, like over and over and over and over again. Why do you think this is such a common thing? And why does that cycle never get broke?
She would have grown up with some kind of cycle of abuse or some kind of neglect. But the main reason why she goes back and back and back, she comes out of every relationship choosing so badly that it's easy to blame the man. He cheated on me. He did this. He does some crazy behavior that it becomes easy to blame the man. And then she'll obviously go with the narrative that he was a narcissist, he was this, he was that. She hasn't taken the time to reflect on her own patterns and her own behaviors. And another thing that gets women in these positions is when a woman is so easily led by verbal affirmation, or just easily manipulated. So when she's a girl where a man just gives her a couple of compliments or gives her a bit of attention and she falls madly in love, that woman always goes into bad relationships, because the moment a man says, I've changed, she gives him a chance. I've changed, she gives him a chance. She's not looking at his behavior, she's just looking at his words. And when she's that kind of woman, unfortunately, she'll be in a cycle of men that treat her badly, because men learn very quickly. It's very cheap and easy to say the right words. It's hard to do the good work. Now, women that will just accept words and not behaviors, they're easy targets. So bad men tend to target women that accept words over actions.
What about when it comes to marriage? When do you know it's the right time to get married?
Time for you as a person. When you feel like you are done with alternatives, I think that's a really important one. I think when you realize that you are naturally inclined to wanting a life where you are not easily distracted by the opposite gender, you are not easily distracted by a good time going elsewhere, here, there, and there. You can do all of those things, but you'd rather share the life you've created with one person. And you are just wasting time when you're single. You're just doing the wrong things. You're spending money on the wrong things. You're self-sabotaging as being single. It gets more and more self-destructive. So when you realize that I'm actually in a position where if tomorrow somebody came into my life, I wouldn't have to, hide all the hose that I've got in my back garden, or I wouldn't have to stop all these plans that I've got to go to Miami and Vegas. My life is pretty much, if somebody was to walk into it tomorrow, we could pretty much transition into a relationship quite easily. But if I would have to literally have a personality transplant to cope with a wife right now, probably best not to do it. So do it when your life is compatible with monogamy.
And what questions should you ask someone before getting married to make sure that you're on the same page?
How do you cope in relationships when things are bad? What do you do when things are absolutely awful? And if they say, well, in the past, I would turn to an addiction, or in the past, I would turn to an alternative partner, or I might call an ex, or whatever it is, then they might not be ready. And it requires honesty, but you have to ask yourself this. But if you're the type of person who's, when things go bad, you take a minute, you try not to be too abusive, you try not to be horrible, and you try and repair the relationship, you're good at repairing, then you're probably ready for marriage.
When is divorce a good option? How do you know that you've crossed that bridge?
When staying with them is far more painful than leaving with them. Yeah, for some people, staying with them is quite painful, but leaving with them is really, really painful. Probably a bit worse. So they can stick it out. But when staying is causing more damage than leaving, and leaving would, either to you or the children, then it's probably time to start planning the divorce.
Are there certain people out there that are just not equipped to ever be in a relationship?
Sadly, we're creating more and more people who are incapable of a relationship.
And what does that person look like?
Somebody who finds monogamy and sexual exclusivity difficult. No.
I had to.
No, not at all. Jack would be amazing.
Thank you.
No, he would be amazing. I would genuinely say people who prioritize sex over and above every other quality in a marriage will struggle to get married. Yeah, if they make that their number one, men, I would say, if they make that their number one priority. For women, I would say those that are not emotionally regulated. So I think for men and women, it's different. I think a man who places sex as a number one criteria for his entire happiness in his life, and how many women he gets, or just how often he gets it, and he doesn't learn that sometimes there's ups and downs with that. You just got to hang in there. If a man that doesn't have a good relationship with sex, he will struggle to be in a marriage. And women who are not emotionally regulated, who act severely out of emotion. So when they're really upset, they might get abusive, they might hit, swear, they might threaten the relationship. And when they're really happy, they get super happy, and they're just not regulated. Those women will struggle with marriage.
It's interesting you mentioned the emotional regulation, because we asked Chris Williamson this question. I know you've collaborated with him. Mm-hmm. We said, what are the two things that you should look for in a woman when finding a partner? And he said psychological stability and a growth mindset. So nice. Prioritizing truth and reality, maybe instead of, an ideological way of thinking, which I think is also,
it's very interesting. Yeah, I agree.
What's your advice to me if I'm getting married soon? What advice would you give me?
The key thing is to respond to each other's bids. And this is what all the research has shown is the number one tool that will make a relationship work is when two people are very responsive to one another's bids. And what a bid looks like is very small gestures that are placed on the table on a daily basis to create connection. So it might be as simple as I walk in and I'm like struggling with my bag and you quickly grab it for me. Or it might be he comes in, he's like, oh, I'm so hungry. And she's like, oh yeah, let me just warm this up. When somebody makes a tiny bid for connection, does their partner respond to it? Some people will come home and they say, I'm so tired. And their husband will be like, what have you done all day? I'm the one that's been working. And when they make a bid, they get angry at them. Whereas if you have a partner that's like, oh, so hot. And they're like, oh, just switch, simple things. I'll just put the window down. They respond to you trying to connect. It could be in tiny forms. They respond to it. The ones that totally reject to it, you can say, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I'm hot, like no reaction. That leads to a slow and steady build up of resentment, and then the marriage starts to decline. So responding to each other's bids is really important, and making sure that there's far more compliments over criticism. We all criticize our partner, it's normal. But whatever criticism you have, you relay it with an instruction. So if you're going to say like, okay, she says, oh, you left your socks on the floor, whatever it is, she could easily say, oh, sake, you left your socks, you're such a messy blah, blah, blah. Or it could just be like, I really appreciate when you just fold the socks and put it in, it makes my life so much easier. You turn your criticisms into instructions and it creates healthy dialogue in a marriage.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So alongside the people that are undateable, are narcissists and sociopaths just purely undateable?
I would just say that, look, I really try and shy away from the term narcissist and sociopath. They do exist. They definitely do exist, but they're far more rare than you would think, because everybody in this current dating age just thinks anybody who dislikes them is automatically a narcissist or anyone who treats them badly. What I would say is that try and figure out whether it's a narcissist or a sociopath. You just got to learn that if they have these traits, it's not that they're undateable. They have conditions that makes them date you. That condition might be you have to listen to everything they say, you have to do everything they want you to do, and you just have to be submit to them completely. Some people actually like that level of kind of order. They like that submission. They want someone that just tells them what to do, and they almost do it. So if you want to be with somebody like that, you have to be the submissive type that just completely forgets your own needs and wants in life. So they can meet somebody who's okay with that. Generally speaking, I do think that most people who are very difficult to date, it stems from a very big trauma, some real lack of self-esteem, an inability to love and be loved. You have to decide, are you willing to take on this level of trauma in that person? If the answer is yes, I'm up for the challenge, do it, but I don't recommend it. If the answer is no, as much as I can sympathize and I love you as a person, I don't think I can undo the damage that you're going to bring into my life. I'm just going to step away, but I wish you the best. I think that's a healthier approach. So try and avoid people that have this level of trauma and narcissism in them if you can.
So although those are very uncommon, something that isn't so uncommon is ADHD. And you mentioned that you have
very extreme.
How has having ADHD affected your relationships? And is it like, what are the negatives and are there any positives, if any?
The only impact I find is that I can get over an argument almost instantly. I can have an argument and then it's like back to normal. Like this, I can say something really mean and hurtful, and then within a second I'm back to normal. So I think that the only thing it does is it shifts my brain and shifts my mood almost immediately. I can almost do it immediately, which comes across a bit psychopathic because it's like, how did you go from there one to the other? But I haven't really seen any negative consequences on an extreme end in my personal experience. But I've heard that it does have really bad implications. But for me personally, I haven't noticed that. Yeah.
I heard it's like a no-no to go up to a girl at the gym.
I don't think so. I think that it's become like that because of the way, social media portrays it. But women are super receptive to men they're attractive to. You could approach a woman at a funeral. If she's attracted to you, she's receptive. And the gym is a great place to meet somebody as long as you're not disturbing her flow. What I say to guys when they're approaching a woman, if she has to then drop all her weights, take all her headphones on just to entertain you, she's going to be annoyed. But if she's already packing her bag on her way out, just don't interrupt her flow. Same thing on a night out. If you're like pulling her with her friends and she has to interrupt her flow, but if you just join her when she's having a drink with her, as long as you don't interrupt her flow, it can't go that bad. Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No?
We need to be respectful of your time. Thank you very much for helping out as well.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate it. All of the links will be left down below in the description. And until next time.
See you guys.
Thank you guys so much.